The topic of conversation is memory. And so we're going to be looking at a poem, and the purpose here is we're asking the question, do memories change with the passage of time? And so the purpose that we're going to use this text for is to relate the form of the poem with the content of the poem. And in the end, we'll be able to answer the question, do memories change with the passage of time? What I'd like you to do is take a moment to read through the poem once. If you have time, a second time, and ask yourself, how does the form of the poem relate to its content? Initial reactions. One more time, Waffles. Alcohol. Where is this presence of alcohol in the poem?
In the first line.
In the first line. In the first line it says, the whiskey on your breath. That's something that stands out to you? Why does it stand out?
Because who writes a poem about alcohol?
Who writes a poem about alcohol? Well, that's a good question. Other things that stand out. Nijan.
Every other line rhymes with itself.
Every other line rhymes with itself. So there's a rhyme scheme here. To take a minute, I'd want one designated person at the table to read aloud the poem to the rest of the classmates at the table. And the people who are listening, listen for that rhyme scheme.
Make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy. We romped until the pans slid from the kitchen shelf. My mother's countenance could not unfrown itself.
We'll listen to the author read the poem along with this meter and get a better feel for this 1, 2, 3.
The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy, but I hung on like death. Such waltzing was not easy.
Talk to each other at your tables. What does this poem mean? Now that you've heard the author read it himself, what do you think it means? I'm going to call out Nijan.
There's a kid, and he's describing how him and his father were waltzing, because I guess the father was also drinking alcohol, because that's what it says in the first line. Mm-hmm. And he's just describing how it felt while he was waltzing with his father.
All right. Cynthia.
I think the boy remembers that his dad was waltzing with him, but I think it was different. I think he was his dad was beating him. Because it says that you beat me on my head with the palm caked hard by dirt. So maybe he came back from work and he was a little drunk or something, and he's hitting him, but the boy's young, so he doesn't really remember. He remembers it as waltzing because maybe he really loves his dad and he doesn't want to say, oh, he beat me, you know?
So maybe he remembers the good parts and overlooks the negative.
Yeah.
I can see where you got that from the text. Whose memory do we think this is? What examples from the text help you to determine this?
The way it's written.
The way it's written.
Yeah, in the tone it's written. The whiskey on your breath could make a small boy dizzy. I know it's a poem, but I feel it's self-reflective. Mm-hmm. So that's why I think it's the author.
Okay, there's a reflection going on there.
I think that's written by the narrator because he says, I hung on like that, and it says my mother's, and he's referring to himself.
Definitely. And so the point of view of the poem would be first person or third person? First person. How does the poet use meter, other known as rhythm, to match the story? So think back to your interpretation of the meaning of the story, and then the knowledge that we now have, knowing that the meter 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3 follows that of the steps we use to waltz 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. How does the poet use meter to match the story?
How it's about a waltz, or whatever the poem's about a waltz. So, as you told us that in a waltz, the rhythm is 1, 2, 3, so it refers back to the text and everything.
So he's tying in the dance, the steps of the dance, to the poem with the rhythm or the meter. I like that.
It's using like how it happened, like how each thing that happened, like it's going in a pattern like the waltz. So
The waltz is a pattern.
yeah,
And
so
so-
that's the pattern of how the situation was, like how the events occurred.
Let's share aloud. What do you guys think? What's this tie in here? What's the relationship? Maybe from a group that I wasn't able to visit or hear from. Coda?
When you're waltzing, you have your partner, and it's like a 1, 2, 3, and then you turn again, and then you go 1, 2, 3, and you just keep on repeating and repeating until the song ends, or you don't want to dance anymore. And that's kind of what the poet's doing. He does a 1, 2, 3, and it's kind of helping the reader visualize what the dancing is like.
I have this question for you. In what ways are hands important? And some of you have already pointed this out. Some of you have mentioned that the hands, the mention of hands plays a big role here. But I'd like you to look at the poem again.
Might have showed aggression.
Might have showed aggression. Yeah, the word beat, that's an aggressive word. That's a very, very good way to explain it. Aubriana?
That he was just keeping time.
He was just keeping time? Okay. So instead of saying kept, maybe said beat. Maybe the dad had a few drinks, and so he was a little rougher with the child than normal. Which makes me think back to that video that we showed of the waltz. It looked very formal, didn't it? Girls in long dresses, boys dressed up. Is there a difference between what we saw in that video and what we're hearing described in this poem?
Yeah, in the video it was like elegant and kind of like more respectful, and this one it seems kind of like they're just like playful and dancing around, but it kind of leads to more violent-ish, like a little bit more violent tendencies than in the ballroom when they're just like dancing respectfully.
Yeah, respectfully dancing, kind of fancy, formal, versus this kind of rough and tumble thing that's going on. What does the waltz represent?
He doesn't really want to be dancing with his dad because like his dad is like being pretty rough with him, you know? It's like an unconditional kind of dancing type.
So the boy's doing it because it's his father.
Yeah, but he doesn't want
He doesn't really want to be there. Maybe it's a little too rough for him. I see. But it's still with his dad.
Yeah.
So he spent his time. That's kind of what that group had said too.
I don't believe that though.
You don't?
He waltzes him off the bed. Like, why would you go? Why would he, I think he's tired, and then because he's still clinging to his shirt, so I think it's kind of like smooth, and then he falls asleep, and then he takes him to bed. Like, I don't think it's violent at all.
Maybe there's no violence at all. So Nijan, share with us.
My evening class, you had a slide that said about memory.
Okay.
So I was thinking that this is probably the most vivid memory that he has of his father.
Oh, most vivid. Okay, by vivid you mean
Like in-depth, personal, something that means a lot to him.
good. Other thoughts? What does this waltz represent? Yes, Cynthia.
To waltz, it's two people. You can't waltz by yourself. So it's like representing how his dad and him, like, their like relationship with each other.
The waltz represents the relationship. Okay. Is this a fond memory or one of abuse? What is your evidence?
On the third one, what really mostly stuck out to me was when he said, the hand that held my wrist was battered on one knuckle. At every step you missed, my ear scraped a buckle.
Haha.
Like, I feel like he's like tumbling on the little kid and like stepping on him, like, yeah.
Liliana?
Well, when you read that, it kind of sounded like he was like aggressive because he held his wrist and his knuckle was battered, like he hit him with his hand, and then every step you missed, my ear scraped a buckle, like the belt or something.
Ooh, yeah. So maybe there is some abuse going on
I
here.
think it could be a little bit of both, because I think it's a fond memory because he's talking about his father and like a relationship they had that was good, but then I think it changed into an abuse kind of thing where it was a good memory to begin with, but then it led to abuse, which led it to not being such a fond memory.
So maybe it's a mixture of the two. It is a fond memory, but also there's an underlying case of abuse. And so both are there.